My name is Danielle Heel, and I am a program director at the Illinois Arts Council. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Jackie
Hi, I'm Jackie Banks Malum, Director of Programs at the Illinois Arts Council.
and Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Robertson, Program Representative.
And welcome to the Creative Learning Grants for Schools webinar for fiscal year 2027. This webinar will give you an overview of the guidelines and the application process for the Illinois Arts Council's FY27 Creative Learning Grants for Schools, or CLGS. So here is a brief overview of what we'll cover in today's webinar. First, we will tell you a little about the Illinois Arts Council, and then we'll move into an overview of the grant. We'll talk through how to use the guidelines and review eligibility before going step by step through the CLGS application process. Program Representative Jasmine Robson will give us a live demo of the Salesforce portal for those of you who may not be familiar with it. And lastly, we'll wrap up by sharing further details about what to expect once you've submitted your application. At the end of the presentation, we'll share some additional ways to connect with us to ask any questions you may have. There is a lot to cover, however, please remember that everything discussed today can also be found in the CLGS guidelines. If you need a paper copy of the guidelines, you can either print them from the IAC website or from the IAC Salesforce system after you've logged in. First, about the Arts Council to get us started, the Illinois Arts Council is a government agency that was established in 1965. We are governed by a board of 21 citizens appointed by the governor. Our budget is allocated by the state of Illinois' General Assembly and supported by additional funds from the National Endowment for the Arts. The IAC consists of a board, otherwise known as the council, a staff, and readers who assist with the application review process. The Council's mission is to build a strong, creative, and connected Illinois through the arts. And we do this by offering support to Illinois' arts sector, advancing arts education, and fostering creativity and working artists. The Illinois Arts Council's Creative Learning Grants for Schools supports arts learning opportunities in Illinois schools. The goal of this grant is to help schools acquire supplies, materials, equipment, or services from Illinois artists or arts organizations that are needed to address student needs for arts learning opportunities. These CLGS grant awards are up to $20,000. Grant funds for the CLGS program are divided by region. For the purpose of this grant program, the arts include dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts. Applications are due Wednesday, February 18th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. On the day of the deadline, IAC staff are only available until 5 p.m. for assistance, including technical support. The agency cannot accept late applications, so we strongly encourage you to begin the process early and with enough time to reach out should questions arise. Reasonable accommodations to allow for accessible application procedures can be provided with a minimum request time of 3 business days before the deadline. The CLGS grant period begins on September 1st, 2026 and runs through August 31st, 2027. Creative learning grants for schools are offered only to public K-12 school districts, schools, and charter schools. Last year's Creative Learning grantees are not eligible for FY27 Creative Learning Grants for Schools. That is any school that received Creative Learning Grants for Schools funding for the 2025-2026 school year. Private schools are also ineligible, and organizations that wish to work with schools cannot directly apply for this grant. This grant must be submitted by the applying public school district, school, or charter school. Applicants may only submit one application per fiscal year. Please check with your supervisor and colleagues to ensure no one else from your school is submitting a CLGS grant. This happens more often than you may think, and it means all but one of the submitted applications from your school may be moved forward for review. Organizations with which IAC board members are affiliated are eligible to apply. However, a board member may not be the authorizing official signing any documents relating to an application or grant award. Schools within a district and the actual school district may both apply, but it must be for separate arts learning opportunities. Please be aware that geographic distribution will be considered as part of the award process. And again, if your school received a creative learning grant last year, fiscal year 2026, then your school is not eligible for FY27 creative learning grants for schools. Eligible applicants must also be able to meet certain requirements to qualify for the CLGS grant. All applications must come through the Salesforce platform. Organizations will apply utilizing a Salesforce account registered to the organizational applicant. All grant materials must be submitted on or before the deadline. Applicants may not submit more than one application. Again, please ensure you discuss potential funding opportunities with your authorizing official to ensure no one else is also planning to submit a grant from your school. All applicant organizations must have a valid FEIN and UEI number entered into their application. All applicants must be pre-qualified in the State of Illinois' Grant Accountability and Transparency Act database. If you receive ISB funds, you should already have this. This grant requires an in-school educator or administrator to oversee your work. So the term GATA refers to the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, and we have listed the URL for their website on this slide. By applying this federal guidance to Illinois state grants, the guidance removes duplicative processes as well as increases accountability and transparency among all Illinois state agencies. GATA is a database that confirms that applicants are eligible to receive funds granted by the state. Registering for this database is a requirement to receive funds from the state of Illinois and the Illinois Arts Council for Creative Learning Grants for Schools grant, and applicants must have a pre-qualification status in good standing to receive a grant award. To register in GATA, you will need to have available the information listed on this screen. For those with an existing SAM.gov account, the UEI can be found by logging into your SAM.gov account. If you are registering with SAM.gov for the first time, you will receive your UEI code in your setup. Both SAM.gov registration and GATA registration are free and need to have registration confirmed annually. If you are being charged any amount of money, you have been diverted to a third-party website. Be cautious in following links and emails, and do not pay any fee associated with a request via email or mail. Confirm all communications about your SAM.gov status by logging into your SAM.gov account. We do not expect this process to be new for any CLGS applicants, but if it is, there are new user resources available in the guidelines. So what do we mean when we say pre-qualification? The state of Illinois has defined a set of requirements for all organizations seeking to receive grant funding. Pre-qualification demonstrates that an organization has met all legal requirements and has obtained all the necessary registrations. Pre-qualification status must first be obtained by an organization, but this status must be then maintained throughout the life of your grant, or if your organization wishes to continue to apply for and receive grant funds. Pre-qualification status must be met by 30 days after the application deadline. This means that your organization has met all the outlined requirements by the time the grant application is to be reviewed. Other tips for navigating the GATA grantee portal: please be sure to maintain a current and accurate contact list in the portal. You want to make sure that the right people at your organization have access to your portal page and are receiving notifications. In this screenshot, you can see the button in the portal called Manage, and this will allow you to manage your portal access. You will also want to confirm that your entity's fiscal year end date is accurate in the GATA grantee portal. This will become important when it is time to submit audits. Please let us know if you have any questions about this, and now I'm going to pass it over to Jackie.
Thank you, Danielle. Now that we've gone through that overview, we're going to return to the Creative Learning Grants for Schools overview regarding allowable expenses. So general administrative expenses directly related to the arts learning opportunity, which does include staff salaries, can be a maximum of 15% of the total grant award. technology, equipment, supplies, and materials directly related to the arts learning opportunity, field trips, including expenses such as transportation and administrative admission charges that support established arts education curriculum, and contracts with Illinois artists and arts organizations to provide resources for the arts learning opportunity. Unallowable expenses include fundraising activities, expenses for outside organizations or individuals, or short-term projects that are not connected to the arts learning opportunity, college or university tuition, unreasonable travel requests, purchase of alcoholic beverages, and political activities such as contributions, lobbying, or fundraisers. The CLGS applications will be reviewed by a group of external readers. Each application will be reviewed with the following criteria. The arts learning opportunity is clearly planned and supports the student's arts education curriculum is 30 points. There is a demonstrated need for this funding to accomplish this opportunity due to a current barrier, 30 points. There are meaningful outcomes expected from this opportunity, 20 points. There is an identified lead in-school educator or administrator with the school or district for this opportunity is 10 points. And the budget is a cost-effective use of funding is 10 points. IAC reserves the right to negotiate budget amounts and program activities based on readers' comments and staff review, and to award grants based on fair and equitable distribution of programs throughout the state. So now that we have reviewed the CLGS application components, let's transition to the application process itself. I apologize, we're going to transition to the application process and components. As a reminder, the written guidelines will be a valuable tool as you navigate the application. We have carefully documented each step in the application with a corresponding section in the guidelines. These guidelines are meant to serve as your detailed step-by-step guide, so please have them handy and consult them throughout the process. All applications will be submitted via the IAC's Salesforce grant portal. The link to our portal is found in the upper right-hand corner of our website header and also by going to the web address on this slide. All applications are due by Wednesday, February 18th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. To get started in Salesforce, if your organization has previously used the IAC Salesforce system, log in using your organization's Salesforce login and password. If your organization is a first-time applicant, create a new profile with the username and password. Jasmine will also demonstrate more Salesforce details in her portion of today's webinar. On this slide, you will see a list of the application components for this year's CLGS application. I will go through each of these components throughout the next few slides. First is the applicant information. Once logged in, navigate to the applicant information tab in the far right side. Returning users should update their information, especially for contact details. New users will make an organizational account. When making an account, please use the organizational name as it is listed in your taxes, as this is the entity the comptroller will issue the payment to. Do not create an individual account for this grant, as the CLGS grant is only available for organizational entities. Please keep in mind that the applicant information fields were designed with 501c3 organizations in mind. Please fill it out to the best of your ability. The organization account fields will ask for contact information both for the applying entity as well as key contacts, including the board president, authorizing official, executive director, and accessibility coordinator. For CLGS, if a district is applying, the authorizing official must be the superintendent. If a school is applying, the authorizing official must be the principal. You will also input the year the organization was founded and the organization's mission. You will make a primary discipline selection for the organization and will also be able to choose secondary disciplines, selecting as many as applicable. You will be asked to add staff and board demographic information here, your UEI number, and FEIN number. Please note, in the Applicant Information tab, the fields may be updated at any time. Please keep the contacts current to ensure communications from IAC reach the appropriate staff or board members. After you have completed your applicant information tab, you can shift your attention to the application itself. Under the Grant Programs tab, select Creative Learning Grants for Schools 2027. If the user has multiple applicants set up, the system will prompt the selection of the applicant organization to move forward. On this main section, please also provide confirmation that the applicant information tab has been updated, the type of school or district, the in-school contact name, title, email, and phone, the grant notification official name, grade levels to be served by this opportunity, the number of students to be served by this opportunity, the requested amount, and a brief request summary. The only supporting document to upload is the narrative, which is limited to 3 pages and must address 4 requested sections. First is the arts learning opportunity. Describe the arts learning opportunity that will be supported by your grant request. Who are the students that will be this opportunity? How does this opportunity currently support students' arts education curriculum? This curriculum may include activities that take place before, during, or after school. What is the timeline for the implementation of this arts learning opportunity? And who is responsible for the required tasks? Second is the need. What is the expense for this arts learning opportunity? What is the barrier preventing this work from happening without this grant? Third is the outcome. Describe the expected outcomes for the students. This may include engagement, academics, and/or social emotional learning that may result from this arts learning opportunity. And fourth is about the school and district or district. How will the lead educator or administrator oversee the work, and how are they supported by the school or district? You will also need to input budget numbers directly into the Salesforce system. Please only include financials for the proposed IAC funded expenses with a $20,000 limit. Supplies or materials, these are consumed during the span of the arts learning opportunity. Equipment, which would have a longer lifespan beyond the arts learning opportunity. Contractual services, payments to arts organizations or artists for the arts learning opportunity. And general administrative expenses up to 15% of the grant amount request. The total request will self-calculate. Finally is the certification and submission process. Please note this is a 2-step process to both certify and submit your application. Once the application is complete, click the Submit button in the lower left-hand corner. A pop-up will require certification of eligibility and application content. After certification, there is a Submit button which must be clicked to complete the application in the IAC Salesforce Grant Portal. The application will not be successfully submitted until the second Submit button is clicked. Now that we have reviewed the supporting documents, that concludes the application review. Next, Program Representative Jasmine Robertson will talk to you about Salesforce tips and present a live demo of the platform to help orientate you. Jasmine?
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go over a few tips for navigating the grant portal based on our most frequently asked questions. Tip number 1 is to use Google Chrome as your browser. The Salesforce application platform is optimized for Google Chrome, and if a different browser is used, you could experience difficulties with viewing the website and filling out certain components of the application. So please be sure to use the correct browser for the best user experience. Our second tip is to make sure that you are logging into the grant portal using a PC or desktop computer. This is going to give you the best screen view of the grant portal and allows applicants to easily access any required documents that you would need to upload along with your applications. Our next tip is to please reach out to us if you have any trouble creating or accessing your account. If you're having trouble creating your account, please try resetting the password on your email to see if you already have an account. Some users forget that they had an account, and the system will not let you make one if the email is already in Salesforce. Sometimes users also get caught in a password reset loop, so please be sure to reach out to IAC if this happens, and we can help you from the back end. Our next tip is for organizations looking to access previously submitted applications. Please be sure to confirm your organization's login info. And this is to ensure that you're looking for your organization's applications through the correct account. If you have had staff or board transition and need access to your Salesforce account, please have that new individual managing the grants to set up a user account. Notify IAC staff when that is complete, and we will reassign the organizational account and past grants to the new user. So please do not make a new organizational account. And our last tip is to use a universal grants management email for your organization's Salesforce account. This could possibly look like grants@insertorganization.org. And this is going to make it so that the account is universal and can easily be passed from person to person during any staff transitions. I'm now going to go over how to complete your creative learning application. You're going to start by going to the Illinois Arts Council website, and you can find the Creative Learning Grants under the Educators tab. From there, you'll click into the Creative Learning Grant Information page. So you would click Learn More. And these buttons at the very top of the page are links that will take you to more information about the grant. So there's a link to the guidelines, a link to apply, a link to the workshops and webinars, priorities and policies, info on accessibility, and our Find Your Regional Program Director tool. Also, please note that our current Creative Learning webpage is not up to date, but it will be at the time that the application is open. If you would like to confirm your regional program director before applying, you would just click that Find Your Regional Program Director button. If you are located in any of our metro regions, which include the counties listed in this top section, you would search for your program director using your zip code. And so you would type your zip code in and it generates your program director. If you are not located in any of those counties listed, you would select your county from this drop-down list. And that would also show you your program director. To apply to the grant, you would click on the Apply Now button on the Creative Learning webpage. And once you're all logged in, you'll be brought to the grant portal. You can find that Creative Learning grant application under the Grant Programs tab, but before you apply, please be sure to go into the Applicant Information tab on the far right side of the screen and update any applicant information that needs to be changed. And so under that Applicant Information tab, you would select your applicant, and from there you can update any information or contact info. After clicking into the Creative Learning application under the Grant Programs tab, you'll be brought to the first portion of the application. Here you'll fill out the applicant website, as well as all the required information under the Applicant Information section. Once all of that information is entered, you will save and move on to the next portion of the application. The next portion of the application is where you will upload your required supporting documents as well as your financial information. And so to upload your supporting documents, you'll click into that Supporting Documents tab on the left side of the screen. And here's where you'll upload your application narrative, and you'll know that it's uploaded because it turns green when you hover your mouse over it. After that, you're going to enter your financial information, which can be found under supporting documents on the left side of the screen. And this is going to ask you to enter costs and descriptions for all of the items that will be funded by the grant. Please note that the maximum amount for the administrative costs can only be up to 15% of the total requested amount. And also that requested amount will auto-calculate at the very bottom here, depending on what costs you enter into these fields. Once all of that information is filled out, you can go ahead and submit your application. On the very bottom of the left side of the screen, there's a button that allows you to submit and a button that allows you to preview your application. That preview application button is going to allow you to look over everything before you do submit. Also, as you're submitting, you will be asked to certify the following statements. And once you do, you will click that second submit button, which submits your application. Also, please note that within the grant portal, your applications will be listed under this applications tab. I do have a lot of test applications here, but my submitted creative learning application that we just completed is also here. So here's where you will find applications that you've submitted and also ones that you're still working on. And that is it for submitting your creative learning application. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions as you all are submitting. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. So next we will talk about the review process, notification to awardees, and grant compliance. So the review process, so when the application is created, the Salesforce grant portal will issue an application number that will be used in future communication regarding that application. Applications which have been ruled ineligible or incomplete will not be reviewed. Applications are reviewed based on the review criteria. The final recommendations are presented to the IAC board for their consideration and approval, and a record of the review process is maintained for all reviewed applications. Applicants may reach out for review feedback after receiving decision notification. So regarding notification, all applicants will be notified of funding decisions once the IAC has reviewed and approved funding recommendations. Applicants approved for funding will receive via email instructions regarding requirements to accept and claim the grant. This will include uploading additional documents to Salesforce, such as a W-9 and copies of letters written to your elected officials. Please note that some email systems direct IAC notification emails to spam email boxes. We encourage you to mark these highlighted email addresses on the screen here as safe email addresses in your account. These email addresses are no-reply@webmerge.me and ensuresign@send.ensuresign.com. Once all documents have been returned via the IAC Salesforce grant portal and all requirements met, including the completion and filing of all previous fiscal year final reports, the grant will be processed and the payment voucher will be sent to the Office of the State Comptroller. Once the payment voucher has been received by the State Comptroller, payments can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months. Grantees can check the status of the grant payment through the Comptroller's vendor website or sign up to be notified about the payment via email, text, or both. Grantees can also sign up for direct deposit from the Illinois Comptroller. Grantees are eligible for direct deposits if they have received a payment from the Comptroller's office within the previous 24 months. Otherwise, the check will be mailed to the address on file. Please contact the Comptroller's office at 217-557-0930 if you would like to set up direct deposit. Part of compliance for the creative learning for the grants for schools will be a final report. All CLGS grantees will be required to complete and submit a final report no later than September 30th, 2027, as will be stated on your grant agreement. Final reports will be available in Salesforce Grant Portal 4 to 6 weeks prior to the deadline date. The IAC Grants Management Office will notify grantees when final reports have opened in the Salesforce Grant Portal. Grant recipients must credit all IAC the IEC in all promotional material and public notices with the logo and the following text that says your organization name, acknowledges support from the Illinois Arts Council. For further information regarding usage of the logo and to download a copy, please go to the logo page on our IEC website. So in summary, and as a few final reminders, the CLGS application closes on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Awardees will receive notification via email, and the award process requires an additional processing of documents. You will need to be able to submit these documents to the IAC Grants Office via the Salesforce web grant portal. Once your documentation is complete, payment from the state's comptroller's office can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months. This award will require a final report submitted no later than September 30th, 2027. If after today's session you found you have further questions, you are welcome to join us at any of our 4 upcoming drop-in sessions. These do not require registration, nor do you need to stay for the whole hour. As the name suggests, you can just drop in with your questions anytime during the hour that we're in service. You may also reach out to your program director. Regional program directors are your first point of contact for questions about all of your funding opportunities. This map shows the regional breakout for the program team across the state. And here's the link that Jasmine showed during her demonstration that you can use to find your regional program director. You can also see the email addresses for all of the program staff. If you need Salesforce assistance, please remember to reach out to Jasmine, and please be aware that IAC staff work a hybrid model and are best contacted by email. Thank you for joining us for this webinar, and we look forward to reviewing your application.